Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody today and declare the meeting open. We acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land in which we work and live, the Palawa people of this land, Tasmania, and recognise their continuing connection to the land, skies and waters, and we pay respects to the elders past and present. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to advise you that today's council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. This means that members of the public who are unable to attend in person can still observe the proceedings. By remaining in the chamber, you're consenting to being filmed and recorded. Please be mindful of your actions and contributions as they will be visible to the public, and thank you for your cooperation. We have in attendance 24.1.2, we have two apologies, Gary Barnes and Kylie Wright. We have 24.1.3, no leave of absence. 24.1.4, we do have staff in attendance. 24.2.1 is public question time, and we have one there from Frank McComas, tribute in Fingal for Hamish Thompson. John, we will respond to this one in about 7 working days, or being Christmas, it'll probably be an extended...
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we'll respond to this one. It's actually not a simple one to answer. We'll actually require Council to actually consider the request at the Council meeting, so we'll actually have to bring this one through to the February workshop for some discussion. But it's a very interesting piece of information around the history of Fingal. So.
It certainly is, and thank you for that, John. Do we have any further questions of the public?
Yes.
We do have one, if you'd like to...
Got a couple down there.
Okay, if you just wait half a second, we've got 24.2.2 is the North East Bioregional Network. That'll be responded as well.
Yep.
And who would like to come forward first? State your name and ask your questions, please.
My name's Graham Wathen. My questions resolve around this document that you're all familiar with, no doubt. In that document, the St Mary's Exhibition Building FAQ, works mentioned under option 3A are said to be required, quote, to ensure the building is a legally fully compliant workplace. In a council officer's report to council last September, it is claimed that without air conditioning, it makes, quote, the building unsuitable as any form of workplace and restricts the building use to storage purposes only. However, under the Australian Building Classification System, the exhibition building would be a Class 9B, which are, quote, assembly buildings in which people may gather for social, theatrical, political, religious or civil purposes. However, Class 5 buildings are office buildings used for professional or commercial purposes. Understandably, a Class 5 building may need to be air conditioned, and this would require a building to be fully lined. So my questions are, why does the council insist on reclassifying the exhibition building, which is a Class 9 building, to a workplace classification such as a Class 5 building, which requires air conditioning, when it is essentially a large indoor space suitable for a variety of community activities and purposes? Further, what was the brief provided to Collective Consulting for the report in June this year? Was the brief written? If not, why not? As only a limited structural assessment was undertaken, does Council insist the advice provided is sound? That is, the building has exceeded its design life and is no longer economically viable. Is the Council interested in other advice?
That's all your questions, thank you. There will be if you'd like to bring that up to our lady at the front, please. That'll be 7 working days on normal, but it will be protracted as we are looking into the Christmas New Year period, so you will get a response in a timely manner. Any other further questions, please, from the public? If you'd just like to state your name for us, please.
Annette Wines. I'm here to talk about the exhibition building as well. I've been attending the gym in the exhibition hall since Hub for Health and Well for Life started almost a decade ago. In its present form, gym classes have never had to be cancelled for any reason. Bad weather, we've still been able to work at the gym. It's never been cancelled. And reading the engineer's report, it seems that the stormwater is an issue. Rainwater tanks would surely improve these issues. I'm not an engineer. Having lived on the road in a motorhome for many years, I know that travellers would also benefit from the rainwater tanks. So my two questions are, why is it now said to be unsafe, unfit for purpose?
Connor, resident of St Mary's. Just trying to get an understanding of how the exhibition hall arrived at the point that's been outlined in the FAQ. And given that Council's been aware of the historic and cultural significance of the exhibition hall since around 2007, when there was that report written, and the questions I'd like to know is, why has Council allowed the structure to deteriorate to its present condition as outlined in the FAQ? Second question is to ask Council to itemise expenditure from around 2007 to maintain and preserve the building. And my third question is, how much does it currently cost to maintain the exhibition hall?
Thank you very much for those, Geraldine. If you could pass those questions to the front, please. Geraldine, could we please have your questions?
Can I just make one comment that I forgot to make?
You certainly may.
I have actually had a look in the new building. It is amazing, that building. But whether all of the gym equipment is going to fit in there successfully, taking in COVID spacing and all that sort of thing, I have great doubts. But the building itself is amazing, but the gym going in there, don't know that it's going to fit perfectly.
Any further questions from the public, please?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Bronwyn Sullivan. I live in St Mary's. My question is as follows. Under the Local Government Act, the functions of providing for the health, safety and welfare of the community and representing and promoting the interests of the community are conferred on the Council, along with commensurate powers to discharge these functions, including the acquisition and management of assets, including buildings for community use. I therefore ask why questions 11 to 13 of the matters that must be addressed in any submission in the community consultation that Council has purported to conduct about the future of St Mary's Exhibition Building seek to impose on the community the very administrative functions that are what a submitter is entitled to require of Council in answer to question 14. So in summary, my question is, why must a community group, almost inevitably comprising volunteers, do Council's work for it in order to utilise a community facility? Thank you.
Thank you. If you could just hand that up to the front, please. And once again, you'll be responded to in a timely manner. Thank you. Any further questions from the public? Or Councillor Oldham?
Yeah, have a question to the Break of Day Council from Mr Graham LeBrock, President of the Ansons Bay Community Group, Inc., asking would Council be able to consider a report into the feasibility of Ansons Bay being added to the list of towns that have a free local green waste program over summer to help fire hazard reduce.
Or there will be a response in a timely manner. Thank you. Do we have any further questions? If we have no further questions, we'll move on to 24.3.0, declaration of an interest of a councillor or close associate. Councillor Chappell.
Item number in close council 12/24/.18.3, the tender for drilling blasting. I'll pop the paperwork in.
Thank you very much. Any further? We have none. 24.4.1 is the confirmation of the minutes held on the 18th of November. We have somebody move. Councillor Oldham and seconded Councillor Carter. Any amendments or questions on those minutes? I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.5.0 is the council workshop held since the 18th of November for your information. 24.6.0 is the planning authority, which we have none today. So we'll move on to 24.7.1 as outstanding matters. Has anybody got any questions that they would like to ask the General Manager on the council resolutions? Councillor Carter?
It just relates to the online access and a question. I haven't got the page number here. 22 I think it is. Just in regards to that digital inclusion program and the efforts the council have undertaken to liaise with government, I'm just wondering, given that the funding will cease around in June next year, whether we can make sure...
Mine was similar, but I think you've answered it. I was just wondering, have we had any contact with the project team who have assured us that they will be in contact with us?
So our contact has been with the department itself.
Yes.
The project team they've engaged, the consultants, we've had no contact yet, but it's been clear, so the participation.
Do you have any further questions? Councillor Drummond?
I'm just wondering if the old council officers and working on the expression of interest after comments received from the first review.
Yep, so the final draft has been completed, so it's just a matter of timing. So I've got a lot of things out at the moment, so we will be progressing that early in the new year.
Just regarding the revised dog management policy, I've had quite a few questions from the community about the dog park in St Mary's. Now we're declaring the dog area, does that mean that will progress at all?
Ms Mayor will have to take that one on notice and respond back on that one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you. 24.8.0 is petitions, which we have nil. 24.9.1 is notice of motion. Councillor Fever.
Thank you, Mayor. Recently I
Would you just like to move this motion?
Move, sorry.
Yes. And a seconder, please. Councillor Oldham. Thank you, Councillor Fever.
Thanks, Mayor. Recently I had a ratepayer contact me concerned about the school bus stops near the Shell service station at Scamander. And I popped along there one Friday evening to look at the situation, and from an ex-principal's point of view was horrified by what I saw with the traffic on the main road, the traffic to and from Campbell Street, and the two outlets from the Shell service station as well. On speaking to parents, they were concerned enough to actually write a letter of support to me, which I've passed on to council. It's a really unfortunate situation in that when it rains even, the children wait under the annex of the service station, so that's impacting on the flow of traffic there, and the last thing the proprietors want is for someone to be injured. Being told there have been near accidents, so I'm advocating and asking council if they can provide a letter of support and raise with the Department of State Growth and the Education Department the need to review that situation urgently and relocate the bus stops slightly. Councillor Carter mentioned that it's not only this bus stop, to the north as well there are other concerns around Beaumaris. So in that motion I'm asking, after that particular area is reviewed, if the others could be by the Department of State Growth and the Education Department. The St Helens School parents, and I received a message from the St Mary's School this morning. They are providing a letter of support as well and concern. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fever. As your motion is asking for a report, that will come back to council, obviously, unless General Manager, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, through Mr Mayor, I've actually drafted a letter ready to go on this particular matter, but I do have to say I'm just slightly surprised that the departments are not more proactively examining the safety issues around school bus stops. You would think that they would have a regular program of review, and it's become a fact that council has to pursue this when the department and the school should be addressing this.
So, Councillor,
I've got a letter drafted.
so Councillor Fever, if you'd like to waive the report, if we get the support around the table today for the General Manager to send that letter urgently to the department. Councillor Oldham, as you seconded that motion, you're happy if we try to get support around the table today for that letter to be sent?
Yes.
Thank you. Have we got anybody against this? If we have nobody against this, Councillor Fever, you're happy if we proceed? So I'll take this to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Fever. 24.10.0 is councillors' questions on notice. We have nil, and 24.11.0 councillors' questions without notice. Do we have any? Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. On the Break a Day website, there is an information page on the St Mary's Exhibition Building FAQ, frequently asked questions. Under the heading of past engineering reports, there are links to 2 engineering reports and a link to a detailed report by the St Mary's Recreational Ground Facilitation Committee, 23rd of October 2006. The engineering reports are from Dale Luck and Associates 2007 and Collective Consulting 2024. These reports are mentioned in the St Mary's Exhibition FAQ, which also refers to other engineering reports. That's the FAQ. And I quote, the community also commissioned Graham Wathen, well it says Wathen, but the name should be Wathen, to develop reports on the status of the building, that being the St Mary's Exhibition Building. Unfortunately, these reports cannot be relied on as professional advice by council. Accordingly, my questions are, what is the reason for mentioning reports by Graham Wathen on the BODC website and in the FAQ document, but then not providing links to these reports for public information? My second question, is the omission of these links to these Community Commission reports an oversight?
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. If you would pass this up to the front, that would be great.
Thank you.
Any other questions without notice from councillors, please? We have none. 24.12.1 is the Mayor's communications for period ending 16th of December. For your information, and 24.12.2 is councillor reports. So we'll go straight into
Sorry.
Yes, Councillor.
I just had a query in regards to 12.1 in terms of the meeting with the police. Is there anything interesting to report?
Sorry, I can't hear you properly.
I just wondered if there was anything of interest to report to councillors in terms of the meeting with the Tas Police.
Through Mr Mayor, they're keen to come along to a council workshop, so we'll be arranging for them to come and have a conversation with council. But it's a very productive meeting with the new commander.
Marco will be a very, very strong supporter of our community, I feel, without any problem whatsoever. Thank you. So, Break a Day and Commerce Tourism, Deputy Mayor.
No, we haven't had a meeting yet. I think the next one's in February.
Thank you. NRM Special Committee, Councillor Drummond.
We had an informal meeting. We didn't have a formal meeting because Polly was on leave. We had an informal meeting that was meant to take part at Kings Park. We were going to look at, Faye Harding was going to lead the group and look at the Indigenous plants available in that area. Unfortunately, we got rained out that day, so we actually came back to Chambers and we had a yarning circle at the back of the hall here, which was led by Faye. So she told her story of her Aboriginality and
how she came to acknowledge her own self. And then the rest of the group shared some stories as well. And all I can say is it was a fairly powerful event. There were about 8 of us, I think, and it was really well received, and it felt like it really started to bring group cohesion to the group in sharing those stories and sharing that knowledge together. So that was a really positive event.
Thank you. Councillor Fever, East Coast Tourism.
Thank you, Mayor. My report's quite long, so I hope I don't bore you. The Falls is under planning and assessment, particularly in regards to the landslips. They're trying to work out how to correct that situation. They're encouraging visitors to still go to the falls, park in the car park and look at the falls from a distance. Plus they're promoting Halls Falls and the regarding infrastructure, hopefully for 2025, but it's subject to approvals. Doris Point will receive a toilet upgrade. Goblin Forest will have walk track repairs. Mount Pearson Dam Wall, an access track will have repairs. Chain Lagoons are getting a new toilet. Cosy Corner South getting a new toilet. Diana's Basin a new toilet. And they're replacing the Shelley Point viewing platform. Deep Creek's getting a new toilet. And Stumpy Bay's improvements to the toilet, a toilet replacement and barbecue upgrade. So that's really good for Break a Day. East Coast Tourism had a major hand in the Telstra Cell on Wheels coming to the St Helens area, mooting that idea, and Telstra and the state government are funding that, and that will be here from December the 15th through to January the 30th. It'll be a great trial for the future. Everyone can stay connected. Grace Keith, who's the CEO of East Coast Tourism, is taking 6 months leave next year, and an interim CEO position is being advertised. I was on the tender panel for the company that's going to look after the PIP for East Coast Tourism, and Episteme has won that tender, and the lead for the Episteme is Alison Andrews. That's it.
Thank you very much, Barry, for a very comprehensive report there. While you're on a roll, the mental health action plan.
Is it be all right just to ask for just some...
You can certainly ask Barry a question.
Yeah, first of all, sounds right that there's so much happening. I just wondered about Telstra with St Helens. So that range will just be St Helens, like that'll help the range here, because the impacts of, Telstra felt right through Break a Day. I'm just wondering, do you know?
Just in the local area.
It'll just be, because as we know, St Mary's is already dealing with issues, as is some of the small coastal, where I am, I'm being self-indulgent here, but in Falmouth and other places are already feeling those impacts of, and we don't have that many more people here at the moment, so I just wondered about that. And
my answer to that would be we sort of go from 2,500 to 15,000 here at Christmas time, or that's the estimated figure.
Yeah.
We have to start somewhere. If this is a great success, then I would hope they would expand it, but we do have to start somewhere.
I'm just wondering. And when you talk about occupational health and safety, that, you'll see that that's a problem. How do we, that's something here, but how do we sort of make sure people are aware of that? If you're raising it here as it's a real issue, there are people that will be moving in and out of, visitors. Is the tourism group sort of looking at that, or we just...
I've mentioned it because that's in the parks update.
Yep.
And they go off the tracks, you could be in danger because of the damage that have been done to the trees, etc.
That's great. Thank you.
Can I just add to that? The road to Overcreech is actually closed at the moment. I was out there yesterday. The road's actually closed. You can't get out at the current time. There's a roadblock up. So that's parks, I'm assuming, in relation to the work that they're doing out there. Because I went out to Nathina yesterday to a community event, and I thought I would duck by Overcreech and see what was happening. And the road was actually closed. So.
Mental Health Action Group, Carol.
Nothing with that.
Nothing. Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee, Councillor Drummond.
We had a really busy month. We've recruited 4 new members to the committee from the community. from a wide range of backgrounds, which is really good to see. Younger people, mums, non-English speaking background, interesting. And then we had 2 great events for International Day of People Living with Disability. We had one event here in St Helens on the Tuesday, which was an arts and culture event, and we had probably got rained out again. The rain's doing a lot of damage recently, and we did get rained out, but we still had about 20 plus people turn up for the event and take part in these activities, which went from 10 till 2, and we thank Sue Gofton for allowing her home to be used for that event. And the next day we had the filming of, or the showing of the film Love the Life You Please at the St Mary's Town Hall, and we had 16 community members turn up for that. We had a panel of guest speakers from Palliative Care TAS and from the local hospital, and the film was very well received, and we've also been asked to go and show it at the day centre in St Mary's because they were trying to get that group to the hall and couldn't. So we've said that we'd go up to the hall, up to the day centre in the new year, and also palliative care.
This month, which is the audit panel meeting, which is covered later in the agenda, and some staff training that we recently attended, or all staff recently attended, conducted by Edge Legal on the new employment law changes. That was really well received by the staff, and it's really given us a good background in what those changes are. You'll note that the investment portfolio continues to perform very well. I think we can put that down to the fact that we're actually holding a bit more cash than we expected at this time of the year. The same thing occurred last year, and that was a big reason why we actually outperformed budget. You'll note later in the agenda in relation to the profit and loss and cash flow statement that materials and services spending is under budget at the moment, and that contributes to why we've got more cash in the bank. Beyond that,
Materials and services where we're underspending.
I wouldn't say it's regular.
Yeah, or just the last year and this year. So
yeah, look, it certainly carried through from last year as well. The challenge here is that when we have natural events that impact our capacity, why the underspend will be there.
I mean, I think it's really important for us as councillors to understand that sort of thing, because we're a service provider to our community, and if that's where the underspend is, for me, I would like to be able to explain that to the community, as I do when we have to increase rates or whatever it is. That's quite an important
I think,
for me.
Raoul, if I may, it's really, and to Councillor Johnson, it's really important to, from where I sit, is to be able to look at what's happening and have a look what happened in March when we had a massive amount of rain, trees down everywhere, landslips everywhere. That much work had to be done. The actual work crew need to stop doing what they're doing and drag them off in the machinery to be able to remove the trees, repair the landslips, which means they're not doing some of their other work. And we had 2 events in a 3-month period there, one being declared a natural disaster. So our works crew really get prioritised to keeping open our service routes and making sure our roads are safe, as well as then going back, unfortunately, and having to do the repair job, because the first time is to clean and to get things open. The next job is to do that. And whilst the Premier, with one phone call, declared that what happened in March a natural disaster, that's great as far as they help fund the clean-up, but the workload goes on for weeks, which means our men are being dragged off a lot of other jobs to be able to get that done, to get our roads and our network back to being not only serviceable, to being extremely safe. Councillor Fever.
I prefer to use the word delay rather than underspend, because underspend gives a connotation that perhaps it should have been done and it hasn't. It's just been delayed because of these natural events.
Yeah, Councillor Drummond.
Going on what you said, Mayor, I'm just really interested. The events that we're getting, we're moving into we are in a climate change situation, and we're noticing that these events are becoming more prevalent and more frequent. I'm just wondering, we've talked about building resilience within the council to dealing with those events, and we're seeing the flow-on effects now, I guess, in that they're coming up fairly regularly, and therefore our regular work schedule has to be, rightly so, put to the side because we've got to deal with the disaster. I'm just wondering, is there anything we can do in our planning, in that resilience planning of climate change events? Is there something that we can do to sort of make this more manageable in some ways? That's a very hard question, I know, but it's part of that package that we're looking at building climate change resilience with the council, and for our ratepayers to understand that as these events become more regular, we are falling back on regular work, and then it doesn't get done. So I don't know if there's some kind of way that we can look at that at a workshop or at some future date.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to correct one point there about the regular work doesn't get done. It just gets delayed.
It
still gets done,
I should have used the word delayed.
It just gets delayed for a period of time, which depends on how much it is. But I think probably in relation to the materials and services thing, I think it might be just worth digging into that a little bit further, a bit more detail, just to see what it is, because it won't be just purely that there. And certainly in terms of dealing with these events, I think this is where the structure of the workforce and having a casual pool that we can sort of haul in when we need it, so we've got flexibility to flex up and down, the reliance on contracts.
I'm just asking if we can look at it a bit deeper, because people in the community see that regular jobs are being delayed, and they don't know what, we're here in this room, we understand what's happening, but for a lot of people in community, they don't quite understand that problem.
If I may just add a slight piece, our normal service delivery being your rubbish pickups and all those things, all your normal taken for granted services, unless a bridge is washed out and somebody can't access that road, the most important thing, everything does continue as normal. It's when you're doing a specific upgrade or something like that that gets delayed because your trucks and your graders have gone to a different area. I suppose it depends on what services are the most important priority for our communities. Rao, would you like to add anything?
Certainly, Mayor. One thing that is really important for councillors to just keep in mind is that we now actually have a structured budget where we can absorb these sorts of climate change impacts. And that's been a really important shift for us over the last couple of years. We can actually, fund the repair works on top of our normal program as well. And moving forward, just in response to Councillor Drummer's question, actually planning our infrastructure to be more resilient to these events is very much part of what we do now. But you can imagine with the size of the asset pool that we have, actually designing all the work moving forward, it's a 10, 20, 30-year process to get our assets into a position where they're actually designed for these sorts of problems. But it's certainly work that we do. We've been working with the Northern Regional Councils Group on a climate change adaptation program, and a key component of that is actually doing risk assessments on our infrastructure in the municipality, and that will then inform how we prioritise those investments into works on the ground. So that's a really big change for us. That's a really big change for the region as to how we go about funding infrastructure investment to mitigate some of these climate change impacts moving forward.
Any further questions? If we have nothing, I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. And 24.13.2 is a monthly financial report. Rao, you've got a few little notes there, obviously. A lot of it appears to be timing issues, etc.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor and councillors. I mean, the notes really actually touch on a lot of what we've just talked about, but just give you a little bit more detail into that. You'll note there that our operating grants are down 51% on budget, but that, as with a lot of these things, that's purely a timing factor. We received that payment in advance last year. Again, our budget's in a position now where we can absorb those sorts of things year on year and not be in a position where it really impacts us heavily. So that's just another point to touch on, that again, that budget health and sustainability moving forward is sort of set in place pretty well now, and this is a great example of that.
Thank you very much. Can I have somebody move the monthly financial report? Councillor Carter, seconded Councillor Chappell. Any questions to Rao on the financial report? If not, I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.13.3 is the visitor information report. Rao, would you like to add a little bit to this one?
Yeah, the Visitor Information Centre report and the History Room Curator's report are always really detailed. I think they touch on the information I think councillors want to hear. The VIC report speaks about St Columba Falls and a lot of calls about when that will be reopened. It'd be fantastic to get some more detailed comms coming out of Parks. And look, I'm sure we'll be chasing that up internally from a staff perspective. It's going to have a big impact on the tourism sector and locals as well. It's an area we all love and enjoy visiting. And classically, the phone calls start about the chances of getting a camping spot around break of day. Everyone seems to think that you can book them still.
In favour? Carried unanimous. 24.13.4 is the audit panel minutes. Raoul, is there anything that you'd like to say on that? Pretty straightforward.
It is pretty straightforward, Mayor. Just noting a couple of key things there that the Audit Office signed off on our Roads Recovery Program and our local roads and community infrastructure program. And the audit panel minutes also included the detailed financial performance from last financial year. That was also included on the agenda for the annual general meeting that we recently had. And I think that's about it, Mayor, for that one.
No worries, thank you. Can I have somebody move that the audit panel minutes be received? Councillor Fever, seconded Councillor Oldham. Any questions? I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.13.5 is the reappointment of the audit panel chairperson. Rao, would you like to speak to that?
Certainly, Mayor. The audit panel, council, is a compliance matter for us. We have to have one under the Local Government Audit Panel's order of 2014. And the audit panel, independent member and chair, plays a critical role in the functioning of that panel. Mr Andrew Gray served as the independent member and chairperson of that panel for several years now. He's a very good operator. He's very good to work with. He understands break a day. He also understands a lot of other councils in the northern region as well. So he's able to pass information between us and really has helped us improve many of our systems and processes. His term is about to expire and I'm recommending to council that we reappoint him as the independent member and chair for a period of 3 years. The Act says that council has the capacity to appoint him for a maximum of 4 years. I think 3 years is a reasonable term and we can revisit that at the end of the 3 year time.
Thank you very much, Rao. Can I have somebody move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Drummond and seconded Councillor Chappell. Any questions on this? I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.14.1 is the Works and Infrastructure Report. So I would like to welcome you to the table for the last go before Christmas. So it's ho, ho, ho. Over to you. Thanks, David. Would you like to speak about your report, please, David? Anything there you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, just 3 things, if I may. The Antons Bay Waste Transfer Station, capping works are starting tomorrow at that site, and that once that's done, that will close off the regulatory issue with relation to the asbestos issue from May.
Thank you.
The recent storm damage event early December. There are two pieces of infrastructure which are damaged. The Ansons Bay Causeway, the road surface has been damaged. The old concrete overlay has been lifted by the stormwater. As a temporary fix, we've put in 5 tonnes of asphalt just to keep the bridge serviceable. But at some point we're going to have to go and look at redoing the deck, which would mean a 7 to 10 day closure of that road to be able to do that. So we're just looking at how we may do that and come back to you and give you an update on that. I had a report that the Newman Street pedestrian bridge at St Mary's has been damaged, and I had a look at that this morning on the way to work, and the bridge has been pushed off the abutments and it's completely destroyed. More so because the river is choked with trees and the water just took the bridge with it. The Works Operations Manager's been talking to the high school, and we understand that the bridge has very rare use, and in fact they're questioning why that bridge would still be in place linked to the back of the high school. So what we'll do is we'll investigate that further and come back and discuss that at a workshop, if that's okay.
Thank you very much, David. Can I have somebody move that the Works Manager's report is received? Councillor Oldham, seconded Councillor Fever. Any questions to David?
Drummond's got a question.
I'll mention a comment that might take that look off John's face. The school are trying to reduce access to the school at any point other than the front entrance. So they've been closing the stiles down over time, so it would link with asking why the Newman Bridge is going to be replaced.
Agree, Mr Mayor, that bridge would have probably had very limited use. It really only services the school students who might walk through there from Newman Street area.
And the school are actually trying to actively stop that currently, so yeah.
No worries.
Any further comments or questions? Councillor Fever.
I just wondered if the works are going to do those tracks down to the gulches. They've been along this week.
Unlikely.
Right.
Any further questions? Okay, I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.14.2 is the animal control report for your information. David, any comment?
No, it's just a summary of statistics on activities.
Yep, thank you. Can I have somebody move the report be received? Councillor Chappell, seconded Councillor Carter. Any questions? I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.14.3 is the review of the EP04 waste management policy. David.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I know there was a question that came in from the public this morning re Ansons Bay green waste. If I may just touch on that for a moment, the policy doesn't include Ansons Bay as free green waste days. If you were considering changing that as part of this policy review, since the asbestos issue and the contamination with burning green waste that contained asbestos in May, the EPA will no longer support burning of green waste at Ansons Bay, which means that the material needs to be transported back to St Helens at a cost, or else we need to shred that material on site. The shredding contractor is pretty much unwilling to run their machine out to Ansons Bay, which leaves you with transporting green waste back. So there's an additional cost to that. But I just put that in there for you because I did notice that question that came in this morning.
No worries, thank you. Any questions to David on this report? Councillor Oldham.
Does Ansons Bay have a green waste facility at the moment?
Yeah, Ansons Bay has an area for placement of green waste. As part of the capping exercise, because we need to truck materials in, we'll be backloading green waste as part of that to St Helens. So people can put green waste at Ansons Bay.
Any further questions? Councillor Johnston.
It's just more a comment slash question, you know me, questions and comments, they sort of mix themselves up. This obviously is one of our rubbish rates, and roads is one of our major responsibilities to our community. So I'm pleased to see it, so it gets reviewed every 3 years. I'm making a comment to everybody here, David, not just to you, so just so you're aware. For me, this is quite an important piece of work, because with rubbish, we have some people, or people in our municipality get, a number of services and others don't because of the size of it. So I'm really pleased to see that we can actually look not just every 3 years, but actually look at this at an earlier stage as things develop, I think, in technology and whatever around rubbish. So I just wanted to note, I'm pleased that there is a point 8 in the policy, monitoring and review. Thank you.
Councillor Fever, seconded Councillor Chapel. No further questions, I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.14.4 is the review of the stormwater connection policy. David.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We made a minor amendment to this policy under section 2, and we've created a 2.6, and it's in relation to where there's a new connection is approved as part of the development application, that the connection needs to be made by a licensed plumber that is arranged by the developer. There's also a requirement for a works permit to be obtained prior to works being undertaken for the new connection, and that's primarily the change to the policy.
Thank you very much, David. Can I have somebody move? Councillor Carter, seconded Councillor Chapel. Any questions on this? Pretty straightforward. Councillor Johnston.
Oh, look, I just feel it's important for me. I feel really obliged to just raise the issue that we are, when we talk about growing needs, that's in the beginning under strategic plan, that probably means that we're going to have more subdivisions, so that we will be having lots more connections. We already have along the coastline. When I first started here, the council voted against having a best practice stormwater management when a group from Break a Day put to the Tasmanian Planning Commission that we needed to have a best practice stormwater, and we opposed those controls for multiple dwellings and in unserviced areas such as Bennelong Bay. My concern here is, for council, is connecting stormwater without actually addressing the issues of intensity, which is things like flooding, erosion risk due to too many hard services, and also minimising runoff from and improving the quality of runoff means that we're having deteriorated water quality entering
to subdivisions. In addition to that, we have a draft policy that's coming to the council in the new year, which covers more and including the items that you raised. So that will be a good opportunity for council at that point to, have a review of that policy when it comes to you.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you for responding.
Okay, any further questions, Councillor Drummond?
I just would like to clarify, if I may, through the Mayor, through the Chair. So we're adopting the policy currently on the stormwater connection, but we're also going to look at it further in the new year.
This policy is about stormwater connection points. The draft policy that we've been working on is a broader issue about aligning subdivisions to the state strategy, to the subdivision guidelines, which is currently, it's a current piece of missing work, but we're aiming to bring that at some point to your attention.
Thank you. So if everybody's happy, we've got 2.6, which is the new addition to the existing. If everybody's supportive, I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.14.5 is review of the private works and plant hire policy. David.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This policy is being reviewed and the recommendations it's accepted without amendment.
Thank you. Can I have somebody move? Councillor Fever, seconded Councillor Oldham. No questions on this one? I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous. 24.14.6 is the policy review of the curb profile policy. David?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Again, we make a recommendation the policy is accepted but without amendment.
Events which they've actually had to personally deliver, which has taken an awful lot of time and resource. Quite often these events are happening outside of work hours and on weekends as well. So just wanted to note the amount of work that's gone into this, these events just over the last particular 3 months, and note that over the next couple of months there's also quite a heavy range of events with a lot of big effort from within the community as well through the volunteers. So a special thank you to the volunteers who are putting in a lot of their time into those events. So it really is a team effort across the community council on that, Mr. Mayor. But happy to take questions and hopefully be able to answer them.
Thank you very much for that, John, and I think it is worth recognising the amount of work that Chris and Jenna and all of our staff do right across. Leah, they do so much work. Jane, we have so many events that don't happen during council hours that our leaders in the crew, the managers and the staff always turn up. So it's a really big shout out to them and our community. Now, if somebody please move the report. Councillor Chappell, seconded Councillor Carter. And any questions, please?
And I think there could be some decisions council might have to make, because a lot of this concern revolves around the camping which happens on the recreation ground at Mathina. That is something within our control. The other point is if there's a road closure for an event, then that's another thing. But we would just like to be able to work with this. Generally it brings some benefit to the community, but it is causing some substantial issues in there, in Mathina, and it's very difficult for Tasmanian Police to be able to service that area. They're aware of the events, but there's only 2 police at Fingal, and quite often police are coming out.
And I've got a couple of other, thank you, if I may. I was actually out at the Mathina markets yesterday doing some presentation to the kids out there, which was really nice. And I'll throw this out there, talking to the community, and there were quite a lot of the community there. The majority of people there were telling me that they'd really enjoyed the recent event and they thought that it was a great benefit to the community. So I think that we need to be very cautious in, hearing both sides of the story. I think, as you said, there were security put on this time. There were limited incidents from what I can gather, and it appears, and I could be wrong, but I was amongst community and the majority of people there were supportive of the event. So I don't know how we move into the future with it. But the Mathina markets were excellent yesterday. They've grown to the stage where they're no longer on the main street. They've now moved down to the school building, which they're trying to raise funds to actually continue refurbishing. They've been doing some work on that already, and they're moving to work on that. And I also attended the St Mary's Christmas concert last night at the Wombat Walk, and there were probably over 250 people, and it was a really excellent event yet again, organised by community. So I think, with support from staff, but I think the community is quite amazing in regard to the energy that it puts into organising these events. And I think it's a wonderful thing that we've got this vibrant community that's willing to give volunteer hours to organising these great things. So yeah, that was all. Thank you.
Any further? Councillor Carter?
Oh no, I just wanted to reiterate what Janet had said about thanking the amazing community, but the volunteers, particularly volunteers within the community that are putting on some amazing events that fortunately I've been able to attend a number of them, and it is the community, the volunteer, we talk about, it seems in lots of areas that we need volunteers, but the volunteers that we have within Break It A, for me, it's exceptional. And I don't know where we do that if we put a motion of thanks, but really the volunteer community in Break It A is exceptional, and I think we should be very much aware that we have that, and would like to thank them all. And also, look, I haven't been to Mathina, but I would like to thank Councillor Drummond for bringing it to our attention that she was at the market, and that that community all come out there together. It is very much a community that comes together, and that she was able to report to us the feelings about that event. So thank you for that.
Councillor Carter.
I wasn't going to say anything, but due to Councillor Drummond's comments, I thought I might. There was a car boot sale at Scamander yesterday. Again, it's another example of community work, volunteers working together, but more importantly, perhaps in terms of the Scamander context, activating the community sports centre has been a goal of theirs for the last 8 or 9 months, and it's pleasing to note that they are providing this activation of that facility.
Thank you very much. We have no further. I'll take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.15.2 is the Access and Inclusion Action Plan. John, would you like to speak to this one, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was brought through to Council Workshop, and it's been a piece of work that the Access and Inclusion Committee have been working over in recent months, and made a review to the plan, bringing in line with current practices, and the draft plan was put out for community feedback. Very limited feedback was received, but whether Councillor Drummond, as chair of the committee, wants to make any comments in relation to
I think it was a document that we spent a lot of time trying to rationalise, and what it actually told us was in the last 3 years we've actually achieved quite a lot while the other plan was in place, which was really nice to reflect on as a committee, to see the goals that we had achieved through that committee, and just to tighten the plan up a bit, and we tried to simplify it a little bit this time. And so in the next meeting, once this plan is adopted, if this plan is adopted by council, we'll use this as the basis in the new year for looking at what actions we're going to start taking as a committee in the new year. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Can I have somebody move? Councillor Chappell, seconded Councillor Drummond. Do we have any questions on this one? If not, I take it to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.16.1.
Stop for coffee?
Do you want to?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, you need a caffeine fix. Okay, we better stop for 10 minutes for a quick cup of coffee. I was on a roll. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be good.
So 24.16.1 is the Development Services Report. And here he's coming right through the door now. You timed it perfectly, Joe.
Thank you. Good morning, all. Fairly standard report from Development Services this month. You'll see in the report, Polly was away at the time of writing the reports, and in our bits just a cut and paste from the previous month. You also see within the reports that last month childcare centre was approved in St Helens in the planning space, and the police station was also approved last month for building approval. So received advice that the police station will commence work. Well, they're just actually getting the site set up at the moment, and they're going to kick off early the new year and hope to have it completed by the end of the calendar year next year. So we make that a priority. You have to excuse me because I forget the name of the development, but it's the bottom end of Tully Street in the new subdivision. Ardia? It was Ardia?
It's in behind Gary Lefevre's there somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, in there.
Yep.
Wow.
Within the new subdivision area.
Yep.
Any further questions? Councillor Johnston?
Look, it's around the strategic planning project. And I'm not sure if it's for you or the General Manager. I'd just like to get some details of, maybe in our next agenda, about what we're seeking to achieve with the Scamander by Morris Township Structure Plan. I'd like to get a little bit more stuff around that. And the other is I'd like to also get some type of bit more detail around the regional land use strategy. So I don't know if that comes from the General Manager.
Workshop on the 7th of October, so there was some refinement going on for that. So we'll, if you've got particular questions or something, then we can ask Deb to provide an update and progress on that one. And okay. the same with the regional land use strategy. That's obviously with consultants at the moment at the Northern Region level. So they were here, did some community engagement with council. Then that was back a month or so ago as well. So no doubt they'll be back with more information in the near future.
And through you, Mayor, just in relation to the Scamander Beaumaris brief, is that the brief is in its final stages to put out to consultancy. So the consultant will workshop with councillors around what that final scope looks like. So we're not actually doing the work itself. We're just developing the brief for a consultant to assist with that piece of work.
Yeah, I'm just asking if that detail can be provided.
Yeah,
that's up to you to decide whether you're going to provide it or not, but my question is that I would like some details around that provided. So
the whole lot will be provided, Councillor Johnson, once the consultation has been done.
And obviously, Mr Mayor, the project brief, the finalisation of the project brief, that can be provided as well.
Thank you.
Councillor Drummond.
Just a couple of questions. Can I ask about the water refill stations, please? I see there's one going into Memorial Park as the first priority, and then it says various locations. Do we know where they are yet, Jane?
They haven't been properly firmed up yet, but at this stage, the conceptual idea was one at the Lions Park in St Helens, and the other one that we'd identified was at the Fingal Park player, but at this stage there's not been any others confirmed.
And my other question is, this has been raised to me a number of times, around the community consultation design and development for the public toilet replacement. Could we have non-gendered baby change rooms? Because quite a lot of dads now are caring for children, small children, and quite often the change rooms are located within the female side of the toilet block, and that in itself is problematic. So there a number have come to me, dads have come to me and said, when we're looking at a new build or an adjustment to a build, can we think about putting the baby change area not within so that it's a non-gendered space. But I think most of our toilets now are moving towards unisex anyway, aren't they?
Through you, Mayor. We generally always do the male and female mix these days. So our standard is that they are male and female, and that they're accessible as well as have the baby change facilities. But we are looking at potentially, there's a funding opportunity for adult change facilities as well. And so we will be looking at that just as far as the scoping goes to see if, how the community feels about incorporating that as well.
Councillor Carter?
Just on that same topic of Memorial Park, there have been conversations with me in regards to access, and what I'm talking about there is the coffee shop, and then access, they walk right the way around, or they climb over the fence. So I'm just wondering, when we consider that whole toilet replacement program, whether we can look at the access to it as well. Do you know what I'm talking about, where Marika's Coffee is and people climb over the fence to go to the toilet? Just something in that zone as well, that would be good.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, through you, Mayor. It wasn't part of the original scope of the project, but after we've sort of had an initial bit of a look at it, as well as the toilet is also, we've got some budget there to look at the Portland Hall re-rendering itself. So,
Mayor and councillors.
Paulie, would you like to have any preamble on this for us?
Yeah, I think the report's self-explanatory. I've been trying to contact Parks this morning to get a little bit of an update on where they might be in terms of looking at the declared areas that council's included in its adopted policy. I don't know if there's any further news. I thank the General Manager for holding the fort while I've been away. But I think the time's up. We've waited quite a while and we're in a bit of a corner mid-January in terms of having something on the ground, and this would make sure that we've got some coverage. There'll be some implementation issues with them being declared. Take quite a while for signage to be done, that sort of thing, but at least there'll be something in place and we can do the public communication around that and what have you. So it's probably the best thing we can do at the moment. Hopefully Parks and Wildlife comes through with some support.
Thanks, Polly. It's been a long drawn-out process, mate. Can I have somebody please move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Fever, seconded Councillor Drummond. I don't know. Anyway, questions, and whether Polly can answer anything, because it's really up to Parks now, isn't it? Councillor Fever.
I just highlight once again the Billabong Bay Gulches and just say as soon as possible, it'd be great if the correct, given that there's 2 of those gulches now where there's no dogs allowed at all. Like recently, last week, I had someone tell me I was crazy and etc. And I said no, it had all changed, and they'd put in a submission 4 years ago and had a 10-metre lead on their dog and didn't have hold of the dog and was wrapping itself around us. But it'd be very hard to infringe those people if the signage isn't correct and it's not highly visible.
Thanks, Brad. Councillor Drummond.
I think this relates to what I asked earlier on, and this might be a more appropriate time to ask it. It's around the 2 exercise areas at St Mary's. I think there was something in the budget for those areas, and I'm just wondering, on behalf of the community, when those areas might actually start to happen.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think the area at the sports grounds could be built. Again, I'm not up with that at the moment, having just gotten back, but that'll be with Works Department to organise and schedule that work when they can. It's a very busy time of year. The railway station site will need some development approvals, heritage approvals, before it can go ahead. So that's not likely to happen until next year now, for sure. So, yeah.
Any further questions? Councillor Drummond. Sorry, Councillor Johnston.
Just on that, I had questions from the community on that as well, from St Mary's. So we do have a budget allocation for that, don't we? For the dog park in St Mary's. Yeah. Okay. That was just.
Someone else might be able to answer, but I thought I'd seen it in the.
Sorry, it's probably not up to you, probably, to answer that, but it was just...
Through Mr Mayor, I think there is some budget there, but how far it will go towards these 2 sites is another question. So we'll
but you see that the site, the first site, should be done sometime early next year.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be available until then.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
$20,000.
Thank you.
Carried unanimously.
And the works team who really pitched in with the contractors towards the end there just to get everything into place for the opening, and obviously Jane for organising that as well. Plus the people that turned up on the day. I think there was some good activity there, and some use of the track probably we won't see used in that form again by the stunt rider. We do not want to see that happen with untrained, unqualified, unexperienced people. We'll leave that to the professionals. But so that was great to see that happen, Mr Mayor, and that will be a really important addition up there, and I think really will support the use of that area by families and the development of skills, and certainly we saw everything from balance bikes to scooters to skateboards to bikes, so it just showed the versatility of that site, and everyone seemed to understand what the protocols were to use that, and we're going in the right direction. I'm slightly concerned that there could have been all sorts of chaos, but obviously that was not the case. Just the other thing I just wanted to touch on briefly too, Mr Mayor, is Mary's Pass, and obviously I've noted in there about the work consultants have been doing with the multi-criteria assessment process. We've asked the department to provide a progress update to the community and council due to the high level of interest in that, and we'll be pushing that again because
At the moment. All right. Thank you.
The other questions to the General Manager. How come you're getting let off the hook so easy?
Oh, there's still 3 items to go, Mr Mayor.
Oh, that's all right then.
We got him on the list.
You got him on the others, no worries. Can I take this to the vote? All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.17.2, the State Budget Community Consultation. Now, John, this one is always going to be an interesting ask. Would you like to take over and lead? Questions, please. Now, I've got one, if I may, John, just to start the ball rolling. We all know, and who's been around the table for a long time, the condition of the piece of St Helens Wharf, and where we've had to close it off with the bollards. It's getting to the stage where there's a lot of people probably quite concerned that there could collapse. What are we going to do? Would I be bold enough to suggest that we need to write a very strong letter to the Minister of Infrastructure, and I believe the new Minister of Infrastructure, being Kerry Vincent, should be potentially invited to come and have a look at it?
Through Mr Mayor, we can do that as a separate action. We've certainly got it listed in the submission, that piece there, but certainly since our last conversation with the state where we proved it was their responsibility, there's been deathly silence at the state government level, Mr Mayor.
Well, could I, on that point, as it will be quite a eyesore to our community if part of that collapses, and hopefully there is nobody, when it does collapse, gets hurt. Can I be bold enough to ask that we, through today, even though we're at state budget consultation, could we take out of this a letter with full council support that we write to the new Minister of Infrastructure and request an on-site meeting and try to progress the ownership and the repair that is required to keep our facility in safe hands?
Yep, certainly, Mr Mayor.
Would everybody be supportive of that?
Yes, and because it's also the health and safety of our community.
It's
that
everything.
is really, for me, what you've just said, if it's falling down. I assume that people are very aware that to be careful. Because the last thing
Look, unfortunately, Councillor Johnson, we've had more ministers, we've had changes in socks and undies, and we need to constantly keep reminding the state government of their obligations because they have ownership of that, and the possible demise of that won't look good as a tourist opportunity to see that collapse into the water, and we would hope that nobody gets hurt. So it's going to be locals, tourists. We don't want anybody to be hurt. We need the state government
to try and advance a trail somewhere in our community.
all that.
Yeah, and we said because it had progressed quite a way that
Yes,
we
that's
had
right.
the relative information to provide by the deadline. So I think that's really important because the community is still very actively engaged in petitioning all sorts of... They'll have talked to every politician at this point, I think, so it won't come as a surprise to anyone.
Councillor Feather.
Yeah, I think what we have here with the inclusion of the trails is really good. The specific, there aren't too many points, things we can really focus on, so well done.
Okay, this has been moved and seconded. I'll take this to the vote.
So through Mr Mayor, that will be with the fifth dot point to do with the...
Stop point?
Yep.
Thank
to do
you.
with the St Mary's Cornwall walking track as the fifth point.
So if everybody's happy with that, take it to the vote. Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.17.3 NTDC quarterly report. John, would you like to talk to this one?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As noted at the workshop, this is a requirement under the Local Government Act and the enterprise powers there. Happy to take questions on this, Mr Mayor.
Can I have somebody move the report? Councillor Carter, and second Councillor Chappell. Any questions on this one? I think it's relevant, if I may, under regional development, the continual ask of the Regional Land Use Strategy Review. This is one of the most important items that I find that, and NTDC is obviously very supportive of this as well. We need to formalise with the state government, no band-aids. We need to review and renew and bring up to date a fit-for-purpose regional land use management strategy. So it's really good to see that NTDC has got that on their radar as well. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Oldham, you've... All good? Thank you. I'll take this to the vote. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. 24.17.4, Future of Local Government Review, the final report response. John, would you like to lead this one, please?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Well, after much time moved on and with a sense of anticipation and all of that, we had the state government's response to the final report. As noted in there, I've provided a summary of what was supported and what wasn't supported, and what they supported in principle, partially supported. A lot of the legislative change, and on Friday the Minister has sent through a further correspondence around targeted amendments to the Local Government Act, and we'll be circulating that to councils this week because inviting our feedback on this up until the 21st of March. So I've got plenty of time to look at it. I've had a quick look at it through it, and to say it's probably underwhelming in detail. It really doesn't add anything much there for us to comment on. I think that will show in the legislation there as well. But obviously there's a range of changes in there. Some of the key things that have changed, and one of it is the internal audit function, to bring it in line with state agencies. I won't dwell on things, how well the system works when it comes to ferries. We won't mention that there as well, but to make sure things have been done correctly. So that particular one there could have quite a resource implication for council there as well. We're not quite sure what it means at this point in time, 2025, which council will provide comment on. The in principle ones are probably the more complicated ones, like heavy vehicle motor tax review, financial assistance grant. They had to say support for review because they've been raised, but what that actually means, who knows. So the things which probably in support in principle, and the ones which are going to take quite a bit more work than some of the other legislative change, which is just what the state government wants to do, is focus on legislative change. But interesting council's observations from looking at the report if they've had a chance to look at it. But given the fact we've waited 10 months for this, Mr Mayor, it's, yeah, we did have ministerial changes, so hopefully the new local government minister will be able to progress things.
If I could add just a little bit to that, John, having a couple of days in Hobart last week at GMC and PLGC, it's very clear the new minister is going to work extremely hard on trying to help assist councils for councillor bad behaviour, have tools in the toolbox for the Office of Local Government. Some very serious consequences hopefully will be able to occur where it may be a councillor can be dismissed or be put out for 6 months. There could be all sorts of ranges of penalties for councillor misbehaviour. While it's a very, very small few of councillors right round Tasmania where there is reported bad behaviour, it's really something that after you've been elected, that'll have time frames on them. And there'll be refresher courses for people who've already been on council. So there's all of those sort of things that they're taking to be a councillor quite seriously, which has, I think, been very welcomed by everybody. And as you said, they're very keen on infrastructure contribution charges, doing a review of that, so we can get houses built. We don't have developers actually competing with another developer not to develop, because whoever moves first has to pay all the costs. Then the second one comes in and connects to those things for free of charge. So components will be prior to standing for council and after. So there's a lot of good things that they're looking at, and I'd say with the community consultation, that's going to become better, and consultation with local government will become very genuine and meaningful. I think the new minister will be well placed to understand, as a previous mayor of 10 years at Sorrel, how hard it is at short notice to do a submission when we all have other things to do, and council staff doesn't have endless resources and they've got to pull somebody off to do something. So that's been well and truly recognised. So keep our fingers crossed moving forward. We could be going to end up with a few positives out of this local government review. That's all I've got to add, John. Further questions or comments, please? Councillor Fever.
Wonder why they haven't supported number 8.
Number?
Community vote decision.
Hang on.
Formal amalgamation proposal.
What they was doing there was, there was a suggestion at one stage that you'd have to have an elector poll but when there's two communities who potentially may have a boundary adjustment, one might say we'll do it and the other one won't say we don't, and the one who doesn't is not liable.
Partially supported it and said, but we also need to do this. But they've just not supported it. So
I would have assumed that you would do all the other steps first, but then the vote would be the final say, because in our boundary adjustment it seemed to be that a large percentage of people were in favour of it. So if that had got to the end point, then you would have a vote to say yes or no.
Yeah, I think that
Councillor Johnston.
Some of the things that you've raised, Mayor, around heavy vehicle motor tax revenue, I mean, I think that's really important for our community, because the impact that heavy vehicles have on our roads, in particular St Mary's Path, is...
That's a state government road. This is about heavy vehicle road tax that the state government collects, and each council gets a percentage
of that, yeah.
But that percentage has not increased in 27 years,
Yes.
I think it is.
So
not including even CPI, still the same.
Yeah, so I think that's really important, and I note that it's in principle support. It's not actually supported, which is for me a little bit of, I mean, that to me is a really important piece. Some of the issues that you raised, and they sit under in principle support, and I'd just like to hear maybe from you and John what your feelings are, if you think that these in principle supported ones are likely to be actually.
The Minister has already given a commitment last week that in principle they've supported this. It'll be looking at the steps forward now to investigate it. So there's a few things that are happening. While this in principle supported recommendation, they've now got to do an investigation into how they do it
How they do
and
it.
how it's allocated, etc.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the thing with it. A number of the ones they've got in principle support, the one need more homework done
Yep.
before they can support it or not. So that's where like those ones not enough info, need more info, but we like the idea. Is effectively what they've said. Yeah. But certainly, Mr Mayor, I'll circulate to councillors the information about targeted amendments to the Local Government Act discussion paper. That will be coming to the February workshop. So for a conversation as to what our submission might look like on that, but my first quick read of it indicates that there's not a lot there to work with yet. It's more going to be in the details, more of a recap of where they're at so far. And they've also said what we've got in here is not up for debate, so it's going to happen. So don't argue the merits or not of what's here.
Okay, can I have somebody move that these information is noted? Councillor Lefevre, seconded Councillor Chapel. All in favour? Carried unanimous, thank you. So, pursuant to Regulation 15.1 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015, the Council moving to closed council. We've now closed off our record.